In the heart of ancient China, during a time when the land was divided into warring states, a boy was born who would change the course of history forever. His name was Yingzheng, and he would one day become the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. But his journey to the throne was anything but ordinary. It was the year 259 BCE, and the state of Qin was one of the most powerful among the 7 warring states. Yingzheng was born into the royal family, but his path to power was fraught with danger. His father, King Shi was a man of ambition, but he was also a hostage in the state of Zhao, a common practice to secure alliances between states. Yingzheng's mother, Lady Zhao, was a concubine, and her son's future was uncertain. When Yingzheng was just a child, his father managed to escape from Zhao and return to Qin, where he eventually ascended to the throne. But King Xiang's reign was short-lived, and he died when Yingzheng was only 13 years old. The young prince was thrust onto the throne, but real power lay in the hands of his regent, Lu Buwei, a shrewd and ambitious merchant who had risen to become the chancellor of Qin. Lu Buwei was a man of great influence, and he saw in Yingzheng the potential to unify the warring states under a single rule. He took the young king under his wing, educating him in the arts of war, politics, and statecraft. But Lu Buwei's ambitions went beyond mere mentorship. He had his own plans for the future of Qin, and he was willing to do whatever it took to see them realized. As Yingzheng grew older, he began to assert his own will. He was a quick learner, and he soon realized that the key to unifying China lay in strength and discipline. The Qin state was already known for its powerful army, but Yingzheng sought to make it even stronger. He implemented strict laws and harsh punishments, ensuring that his subjects were loyal and obedient. He also began to consolidate his power, removing anyone who stood in his way. One of the first to fall was Lu Buwei. The regent had grown too powerful, and Yingzheng saw him as a threat. In 235 BCE, Lu Buwei was accused of treason and forced to commit suicide. With his mentor gone, Yingzheng was now the undisputed ruler of Qin. But the young king's ambitions did not stop at the borders of his own state. He looked out at the warring states around him and saw an opportunity to create something that had never been done before: a unified China. He began to plan his conquests, gathering his armies and preparing for war. The first target was the state of Han, one of the weaker states that lay to the east of Qin. In 230 BCE, Yingzheng launched his campaign, and within a year, Han had fallen. The other states watched in fear as Qin's armies marched across the land, conquering everything in their path. The harsh policies of the Qin Dynasty, including heavy taxes, forced labor, and brutal punishments, had already sown seeds of discontent among the people. The construction of the Great Wall, the Terracotta Army, and the emperor's massive mausoleum had drained resources and cost countless lives. With Qin Shi Huang gone, the people saw an opportunity to rise up against their oppressors. The first signs of rebellion appeared in the east, in the former state of Chu. A peasant leader named Chen Sheng, along with his ally Wu Guang, led an uprising against the Qin government. Though they were not of noble birth, their courage inspired others to join their cause. The rebellion spread like wildfire, and soon other regions began to rise up against Qin rule. Zhao Gao, now the de facto ruler of the empire, tried to suppress the rebellions with brute force. But the Qin army, once invincible under the leadership of generals like Wang Jian, was stretched thin. The soldiers were demoralized, and many deserted to join the rebels. The empire that Qin Shi Huang had built with such determination was crumbling under the fall of the Qin Dynasty marked the beginning of a new era in Chinese history. The empire was divided among the rebel leaders, and a power struggle ensued. 2 figures emerged as the main contenders for control of China: Liu Bang, a former peasant who had risen to become a skilled military leader, and Xiang Yu, a nobleman from Chu with a fierce reputation as a warrior. The struggle between Liu Bang and Xiang Yu would determine the future of China. But even as the Qin dynasty faded into history, the legacy of Qin Shi Huang endured. His vision of a unified China had left an indelible mark on the land, and his achievements, both great and terrible, would be remembered for centuries to come. As the people of China looked to the future, they could not help but reflect on the man who had once ruled them with an iron fist. Qin Shi Huang had been a tyrant, but he had also been a visionary. His empire had fallen, but his dream of a unified China would live on. The fall of the Qin Dynasty in 206 BCE marked the end of an era, but it was also the beginning of a new chapter in Chinese history. The empire that Qin Shi Huang had built with such determination and ruthlessness had crumbled, but his vision of a unified China would endure. The legacy of the first emperor would shape the course of Chinese civilization for centuries to come. After the collapse of the Qin Dynasty, China was plunged into a period of chaos known as the Chu-Han contention. Two powerful leaders emerged as the main contenders for control of the empire: Liu Bang, a former peasant turned rebel leader, and Zhang Yu, a nobleman from the state of Chu. Their struggle for supremacy would determine the future of China. Liu Bang was a man of humble origins, but he possessed a keen understanding of human nature and a talent for leadership. He had risen through the ranks of the rebellion, earning the loyalty of his followers through his generosity and strategic brilliance. Zhang Yu, on the other hand, was a fierce warrior and a brilliant tactician, but his arrogance and cruelty alienated many of his allies. The conflict between Liu Bang and Zhang Yu reached its climax at the Battle of Gaixia in 202 BCE. Despite being outnumbered, Liu Bang's forces managed to outmaneuver Zhang Yu's army, leading to a decisive victory. Zhang Yu, realizing that all was lost, took his own life rather than face capture. With his greatest rival gone, Liu Bang declared himself emperor and established the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty would become one of the most influential periods in Chinese history, lasting for over 4 centuries. Liu Bang, now known as Emperor Gaozu, sought to learn from the mistakes of the Qin Dynasty. He implemented policies that were less harsh and more forgiving, earning the loyalty of his subjects. But he also recognized the importance of the reforms introduced by Qin Shi Huang, such as the standardization of weights, measures, and the written language. These reforms were preserved and built upon, ensuring that the legacy of the first emperor would endure. One of the most significant contributions of the Han Dynasty was the establishment of Confucianism as the official state ideology. Confucian principles of morality, justice, and governance became the foundation of Chinese society, shaping its culture and values for generations. But even as Confucianism took hold, the influence of Qin Shi Huang's legalist policies could still be seen in the centralized bureaucracy and strict legal codes of the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty also expanded China's borders, bringing new territories under its control and establishing trade routes that would later become part of the Silk Road. The empire flourished, and Chinese civilization entered a golden age of art, literature, and science. But the memory of Qin Shi Huang and his achievements and his excesses was never far from the minds of the people. The first emperor's most enduring legacy was perhaps his vision of a unified China. Before Qin Shi Huang, the land had been divided into warring states, each with its own culture and identity. But through his conquests and reforms, he had created a sense of unity that would persist long after his death. The idea of a single, centralized empire became the ideal for future rulers, and the concept of all under heaven became a cornerstone of Chinese political thought. But the legacy of Qin Shi Huang is a complex one. He was a man of great vision and determination, but also of immense cruelty. His harsh policies and relentless pursuit of power left a trail of suffering in their wake. Yet his achievements cannot be denied. He unified China, created a centralized government, and laid the foundations for an empire that would endure for centuries. As the centuries passed, Qin Shi Huang became a symbol of both the greatness and the dangers of absolute power. His story has been told and retold retold in countless books, plays, and films, each offering a different perspective on the man who dared to dream of a unified China. Some see him as a hero, a visionary who brought order to a chaotic land. Others see him as a tyrant, a man whose ambition knew no bounds. But perhaps the true legacy of Qin Shi Huang lies in the enduring idea of a unified China. His dream of all under heaven has inspired countless generations, and his vision continues to shape the course of Chinese history. The first emperor may have been a man of his time, but his impact on the world has been timeless. As the sun sets on the ancient land of China, the shadow of the dragon still looms large. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, may be gone, but his legacy lives on, a testament to the power of ambition, the weight of history, and the enduring dream of unity.